بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. In the Holy Quran, there's reference to a group of unlettered, unschooled Jews who follow their leadership, and their leadership are scholars, the rabbis, for example, and they follow them, and the rabbis are going the wrong way, but all of them are punished together. Some people go to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam and say, why are they all punished? Why not only the scholars? Why shouldn't they be only punished? Why are the common lay people who follow them, why are they to be punished? The scholars should be punished, not all of them. Then Imam Sadiq, in a very long hadith, he first says that leadership is of two types. One is okay, the other is problematic. Leadership where the leader is saying the truth and is acting upon the truth, and people follow that leader because, for example, they're following one who is more learned, for example, and one who is showing the way and who himself is following what he is preaching. The rest listen and follow them. That's okay. That kind of leadership. It's a leadership of those who don't know, they follow those who do know. But sometimes people follow leaders who the people know that the leaders are acting corruptly. For example, and this was the case here, that the people were following the rabbis, but the people knew that the leaders of the community are acting corruptly themselves. So why are they following those leaders? They shouldn't follow them. Then Imam Sadiq made this statement in relation to why everyone will be punished, even those who follow. He said, because those who followed, they went against their fitrah. Which aspect of the fitrah did they go against? Which aspect of that innate nature, which whoever you are should accept this principle? With the fitrah, there are truths which, wherever you are in the world, be you in Iran or in the Amazon or in America, they would all believe in the same thing because it's something pertaining to one's innate nature as a man. Those principles, we refer to those pertaining to one's fitrah. It's not bound by geography or, Imam Sadiq said, they knew those leaders were corrupt. They knew the leaders were fasiq, but they still followed the leaders. That's a crime itself. Why? Because they're acting against their fitrah. The fitrah dictates when you know the leader. Now, it may be of a community, country, it doesn't matter. When you know the leader is corrupt, why are you just shaking your head and saying, yes, whatever you say, we follow you? The fitrah will never accept such a thing. You're going against the fitrah. And by going against the fitrah, you have to be punished. Now, either here or in the hereafter. It's going to happen sooner or later. So when you know a leadership doesn't practice what it preaches, you're not allowed to follow that leadership. Your fitra dictates such a thing. Okay, so that's one point I wanted to first mention. The second point is one's innate nature is after perfection. Whoever you are, wherever you are, and we said this before also, that this journeying towards perfection is something predestined. It's not a choice. Everyone is after perfection. That which is a choice is whether you journey towards perfection in vice or perfection in virtue. That's a choice. But going towards perfection, that's something which is, ordained within man. It may be perfection in, God forbid, vice. The thief who wakes up and wants to steal something, they think they're doing something good. Now, in this journey towards perfection, though, and we want to journey towards perfection in virtue, in order to succeed in this journey, we need a correct medium through which we can journey and reach our objective. For example, we need land to live in. And a land which no one can come and take it from us, for example. That kind of property or building or whatever, in whatever shape and form, but you need it so that you can live there without thinking that someone can come and take it. It's something which is very essential and basic for one's journeying towards perfection. Otherwise, if you don't have your own land, and one day this person takes it or that takes it, and you don't know what you're doing, it's going to harm your journeying towards virtue. And man realizes this, that they need a place, wherever you are in the world. And so man comes and constructs something in their mind by the name of ownership. Ownership isn't a real thing in the world. You can't point to something and say, this is ownership. No. You can point to land, you can point to a human being. Ownership, though, is a mental concept. We call it a mental construct. In Arabic, they say, i'tibarat. It's a mental construct, and it's okay, it's necessary. People, they've evolved with these mental constructs. It doesn't exist in their physical realm. It's a mental construct, but it has physical implications. You're now the owner of a piece of land. When you're the owner of a piece of land, someone can't just come and take it from you. And people think like that. The Sharia has okayed this and there's no problem with it. Or for example, marriage. Marriage is something that is very important for one's survival in the world. But you don't want someone to come the next day just to take your spouse away. You want to say, this is my spouse. So they've come up with a mental construct here by the name of marriage. Marriage doesn't exist in the physical realm. So one man, one woman. Marriage, though, that is a construct, and it's made mentally. It has physical implications now, though. So now no one can just come and just take my spouse away. And through this spouse, I can journey towards perfection more comfortably. Even leadership. There are many things. Jobs. All these things are mental constructs. Even assigning titles like children. All these are mental constructs. There's something which, in our journeying to perfection, we construct it and we now are tied to it in some way or other. But the reason why we construct them is to journey towards perfection, though. Otherwise, without these mental constructs, we wouldn't have that peace and harmony to journey towards perfection. And here, by perfection, let's say as a Muslim, is to get proximity towards Allah. As a Muslim, for example, these mental constructs are all just means They're just means, be it marriage, ownership, children, spouse, marriage, yes, we said that. Leadership, it's knowledge. The certificate you're given is just a rank. This rank doesn't exist in the physical realm. What exists is knowledge. But you've assigned this person as a leader, otherwise you wouldn't be able to smoothly progress if you hadn't assigned a leader, for example. Leadership and other things. Yes, all these are mental constructs, we have them. And their objective is that now through these mental constructs, with peace, harmony, we can achieve our goal. And that's getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But sometimes the mental constructs become the goal. That's problematic. Where now ownership is the goal. It used to be a means to the goal, but then it becomes the goal. It was supposed to be a means so that you have peace, harmony, and now you can journey towards perfection and reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why we marry, we own a plot of land, we do this, do that, job, certificate, all this. These were just means to the goal, but over a period of time, suddenly we see that they become the goal. Land becomes the goal now, owning land. Having children, money, all these different things which were all means to the goal, but now they become the goal. And when they become the goal, now the original goal that we had, the reaching Allah, that ultimate perfection, that becomes compromised. See, we have a lot of these mental constructs. And the underlying reason we construct them is to reach perfection. And for Muslims, that's perfection in a particular manner, perfection in virtue. Now, all this was just an introduction for this point. And although this is just a theory I'm giving, what I'm about to say now, I may be wrong. Don't panic or don't worry about it, yes. Just want to share an idea with you, yes. This idea of nationality or citizenship, I mean, it's not something, we don't have countries in Islam, you know. We don't have these geographical borders which we have today, like Tanzania, Iran, all these countries. These borders, it's not something which Islam has. Islam doesn't deny it. It's not an Islamic feature anyway. It's not an Islamic tenet, so to speak. Nationality too. We have to be careful here. This seems to be a mental construct. We've constructed this mentally so that a group, mass of people, has some kind of harmony and order so that as a group they can reach their destiny. And that's okay. That's okay. There's no problem there. It's a mental construct. And we're now defining all these different borders and countries. But when it's a mental construct, you can't say, I was born a Tanzanian anymore. Oh no. It's a mental construct. With mental constructs, there's no innate relationship with them. Mental constructs are here in the mind. You can't say, well, I was born Tanzanian. Like I was born black, I was born white, and I was born Tanzanian. No, actually you weren't. You can still change that actually. That was a mental construct with a particular objective. If you don't like it, feel free to change. You want to reach perfection. If being Tanzanian is a problem for you in reaching that perfection, change your nationality. Now, this nationality was a mental construct. It was constructed so you reach a given goal, perfection. If being Tanzanian is barring you from reaching that perfection, change it. Don't worry. Go and opt for another nationality. If you can't go on, if they will give it to you, what's the problem? Strip yourself from the Tanzanian, for example. Now this becomes a bit delicate now, because it's a choice here. And we're going to be judged with this choice. The point is this, that with a mental construct, the aim is to attain to perfection. Is being Tanzanian a hindrance, an obstacle in reaching your perfection? The answer is, it depends. Can you explain to us a bit about Tanzania? Tell us a bit about life in Tanzania, and I'll tell you if it's a impediment to you reaching to your perfection as a Muslim. And so you explain what Tanzania is all about and this and that. You have a free mind, you listen, and you say, oh, okay, that's not bad, okay, we'll give it a try. Okay, I was so-called born here, they're going to give me one, I might as well keep it, there's no impediment. But maybe your parents from Zanzibar or Tanzania, maybe they went to another country before you were born, and that country was a bit different now to Tanzania. A country where there are many impediments to you reaching your perfection in that country. Theoretically. Before, I would usually give the name of a country, which I personally believe is an impediment. But when I specify a country, then all the arguments now go into that country and we lose the pulse of the discussion. So this time, I'm not going to mention a country. There are many countries in the West where they cleansed with ethnic cleansing. They killed generations and thousands, if not millions, of the indigenous population and natives. Killed them all and took their land away. And they didn't even care. That land was usurped. Like Lady Fatima alayhi salam's land of Fadak was usurped. And the right of Amir al-Mu'mineen was usurped from Amir al-Mu'mineen. These people also, they usurped the land. And they killed them, took their land, and now they're living on that land. This in Islamic terminology, in fiqh, you see that land is ghasb. Maybe you have such problems in Tanzania when, for example, they come and suddenly say, okay, all this number of acres of land, you were the owners, sorry, it's now all nationalized. Can you all leave? And they take their land away. Make sure you don't live on those lands. Those lands are ghasb. It's usurped. You're living on fire. In the ahadith, living on ghasb land, not only is it haram, you can't live there. You can't eat there. You can't do ibadat on ghasb land, usurped land. Having children there, it will be of very little barakah. Starting a project there will have no barakah. It's usurped land. It's something this in our fiqh, it's part of our religion, it's one of the fundamental principles in our fiqh. We call it ghasb. In Sunni fiqh, you don't see this too much. Because when you go to their origins, you see it's based on this ghasb. They don't open this, maybe in 3 lines. But we have volumes on ghasb, on usurping. And we're not allowed, it's haram. If someone is in land and it's their land, you can't just take it away, then give it to someone else. we have to be careful not to live on ghasb land. If we're living on ghasb land, it's going to be very difficult. All our ibadat, it's going to be very difficult. Now, how can you reach perfection there as a Muslim? So let's say if you're living in a country where it's 90% usurped land, the inheritors of those people that were killed and whose lands were taken away, the inheritors still existing. They're put in a corner, for example, and left to rot. When the inheritors are there, we're not allowed to take those usurped lands. And this will cause a lot of problems. Assuming there were no inheritors to those lands, which it's possible, for example, then that land finds is entitled another reality. It's from ghasb, it goes to anfal, that's another issue altogether. Where then Muslims or non-Muslims, you can live on anfal land. But that's assuming there's no inheritor with a claim on that land. And so here, we come back to the question of nationality again. If X country has such a problem, why would you want to have the nationality of that country? Why would you want that mental construct? Because certainly it's a means which is going to lead to your detriment. It's not going to lead to your perfection. So this idea of ghasb is a very important issue. One shouldn't take it lightly. And if, for example, God forbid, there are lands or areas in your country, other countries, whatever, and there's a question mark over it, you have to be very careful. And ghasb takes many different forms. This is one of them. This is the most common, where land is taken away. The definition of ghasb in jurisprudence is the taking of a belonging or a right from someone. You take their belonging or you take their rights away. Something which was their right, you take away without any Sharia justification. That's the definition of usurpation. Now with land, it's a belonging which you've taken away without any Sharia justification. Let's say with the indigenous population that you just took their land. But sometimes the taking of rights also without a Sharia justification. That also is ghasb. For example, there are two neighbors. They have the right to peace and live in peace in a house. If in your house there's loud music, even if it's Quran, but the volume is very loud, you're trespassing upon their right to have peace in their house. Here, you are usurping their right to peace. Even if it's the Quran though. Even if it's for Imam Hussein and you're doing, chanting certain things. You're a usurper, but of rights. Or for example, these buildings that are built where 10 stories high, 20 stories high, on the opposite side of the road, there's a simple house. That person on the 10th floor has a clear view of that house now. They can clearly see over it. They're trespassing on their right to privacy. They have a right to privacy. You've usurped it. And it can get finer and finer and finer. If one enters the details, it sometimes becomes uncomfortable. But going back to the main point is that you have a choice. If living in a nation, by no means is it something essential to you. Although Tanzania doesn't seem to be problematic, although I don't know too much about it, but assuming that it was, why should one stay? If they can't reach to that perfection. Either they have to do something about it here to change the system, but they can't comfortably live in the system and do haram, live haram, and thus compromise that end goal, compromise that perfection which they're seeking. Here one would have to do something. And so these countries that we see today, they're not something which, it's not an idea which Islam has put forward, but it's not against it either. These are mental constructs. Mental constructs are means for one to attain to one's perfection, but if the mental constructs become the goal, then you've lost the plot. And so, community, any given community, they have to think about this and see where we are living. What can we do to, for example, facilitate one's journeying to perfection? What are the hurdles and obstacles which are blocking our journeying to perfection? And then grow slowly but surely, inshallah. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وجل فرجه. Yes. This kind of talk, usually you put it forward in a forum and then different discussions come. I just wanted to mention yes.
Thank you so much, Maulana, for your justifications and many clarifications to the issue of mental construct versus physical implications. In relation to the topic we are discussing right now here, I just look at examples. I choose two countries. The first one is America, and the last one is Jamhuriyatul Islam al-Iran. We have said that for the Muslim, it is not right to live in the lands which has the conflicts. Yes. So in relation to the America, first of all, in 15th, 14th, 13th centuries, they grabbed the land for the Red Indies. So for the Muslim, especially this Ahlul Bayt, is that right place for us to live there in America?
Yes, it's haram. If it is usurped, and yes, that's one of the countries where over 50% of the land is usurped and the inheritors still exist. Yes. Why would someone want to go and live there? Some areas there are not usurped. There are maps which show all this. But those places which are usurped, why should a Muslim go and live there? Yes. But then you mentioned Iran. Yes.
Like this, I have some friends, he's discussing with the people after 1979 Islamic attempt and Imam Khomeini in Iran. Somebody says, we are Muslim, we want to live, we are free. But the police says, Imam says, but the government has the principles, rules, and order. So for us now, are we free to live in the land for the Muslim countries? If not, why we Muslims, we are segregating one another? Mathalan in Iraq, mathalan in Somalia, or Libya, or Tunis, whatever. Why? Yeah.
Good point. So, in relation to Iran, it would be ideal if Iran, but whoever wants to go there and live there, in an Islamic state, Iran should open the doors of immigration. England does it. They have almost 1 million Polish people, and they've given them British passports. From Africa they've given British passports. My parents went there 50 years ago, they gave them British passports. Why doesn't Iran open the those of immigration. If they do it, it would be a very good thing to do. Because someone says, I want to live in Iran because there I can live Islam, for example. And I can journey towards perfection without a hindrance, but you have to give me an Iranian passport. I want that peace of mind. Otherwise, without a passport, what can I do in this world? You can't even travel without a passport. Yes. Now, Iran here, they're very weak in the immigration area. They don't open their borders, the immigration borders. It's a problem. But a true Islamic state, they would do it. And when the 12th Imam comes, it's very different to how we see countries today. You said, why do we always segregate it? Somalia, this, that. There, it's one ummah now. And that's the whole goal. There's no need for all this separation of geographical borders. We have one ideology, it's ruling over an ummah. Yes. But right now, it's not like that. We have to try and choose an area, and the world is very spacious. And Allah will say to you, well, couldn't you go somewhere else and live there? It's not as if you can only live in one place. There are many places you can go and live. But that's a choice we make. And we'll be judged based on that choice. That's our choice where we live. Yes. So migration and these kind of things are of value. Yes. Okay, this seems to be okay. All the best, inshallah. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله